The message flashed across my phone like a slap to the face. The Kinloch family reunion is this Saturday at the Belmont Grand. Don't come. Failures aren't welcome. I sank back into my leather chair, staring out through the 40th floor windows of my office, the skyline of downtown Chicago glowing against the evening sky. The Belmont Grand wasn't just the most high-end hotel in the Midwest, it belonged to me. 10 years ago, a message like that might have left me crushed. Now? It almost made me laugh. Another text buzzed through. We've got an image to maintain. Don't humiliate us again. I glanced at the framed photo hanging behind my desk, me shaking hands with the Belmont founders the day I bought out their legacy hotel brand for $310 million. But none of my relatives had the faintest idea. To them, I was still Marissa Kinloch, the one who walked away from med school at 26 and picked up a job cleaning hotel rooms instead of putting on a white coat like the rest of the family full of doctors. Not one of them ever asked what happened after that. They didn't know I pulled double shifts, rotated through housekeeping, valet, front desk, learning everything from the ground up. Or that within 3 years, I turned a Little Inn in Charleston into a 5-star hotspot, and they definitely didn't know I now ran one of the top hospitality empires on the eastern seaboard. Another ping lit up my phone, this one from my cousin Ben. Mom says not to show up in your old maid outfit. It's not funny anymore. These days, my uniform was a navy silk button-up paired with a slate gray Armani jacket, but Ben wouldn't recognize real success if it bought a billboard with his name on it. My assistant, Janelle, buzzed in. Mrs. Kellen, your quarterly financials are on your desk, and the De Niro family finalized the resort transfer in Naples. Perfect. Also, she added, the Kinloch reunion bookings confirmed. They reserved the grand ballroom and went with the platinum champagne option. Should we tack it on to their final bill? I smiled. Aunt Carol had been bragging all over Facebook about hosting the family reunion at Chicago's most elite hotel. I stood, adjusted my blazer, and glanced at the lobby camera feed. Let them bask in the luxury. The Kinloch name wasn't just on the guest list, it was etched in gold over the main entrance. No, let them think it's on the house. For now, I set my phone aside and turned in my chair, taking in the city skyline bathed in golden light. The family group chat was still going wild. More RSVPs, over-the-top excitement, clueless as ever. My mom had chimed in too. Please understand, Marissa. Your aunt just wants things to reflect well on the family. The Belmont Grand has certain standards, you know. Oh, we had standards all right, just not the kind they were imagining. I opened my laptop and pulled up the guest notes my team had gathered on the Kinloches. Aunt Carol had been flagged at multiple luxury hotels for trying to use maxed-out credit cards. Ben had a reputation for screaming at front desk staff when his free upgrades weren't delivered on cue, and Uncle Ross? Blacklisted at 2 hotel chains over harassment complaints from housekeeping staff. The only reason they got through my hotel's doors was because they had no clue I was the owner. Another ping. Lena, my little sister and the only one in the family who actually knew the truth. Are you really gonna let them stroll into your empire like nothing? They're the worst, Riss. Don't worry, I typed back. I've got something lined up just for them. Lena had been there through all of it. When I was clocking 14-hour days flipping rooms and shadowing managers. When I took out my first SBA loan. When I signed the deed on that first boutique hotel off King Street. She believed in me before I ever had my own front desk. Promise me you'll film the look on their faces, she wrote. Already done, I replied. Security's got every angle covered. Multiple backups. I leaned back, my mind drifting to that night Aunt Carol kicked me out during Ben's engagement party. What did I do? Had the nerve to mention that his fiancée had been sued 3 separate times for embezzlement. When that mess finally exploded, guess who the family blamed? Not the scammer fiancé. Me, for embarrassing them with the truth. A knock at the door pulled me out of the memory. Come in, I called. In stepped James Sue, my head of security, holding his tablet like usual. Ms. Kellen, he said, I've finalized Saturday's surveillance plan. Are you positive you want to wait until they're all settled in before we make the reveal? I gave him a calm smile. Absolutely. Let them sip their champagne. Let them believe they belong here for a little while. James gave a small nod. He'd been by my side since that very first boutique inn. He understood the power of timing. The best reveals happen after the final glass is poured. He'd seen the sacrifices up close, the nights I curled up in storage rooms for a few hours of sleep, the holidays I pulled graveyard shifts while the rest of the Kinloches clinked flutes and laughed over dinner. And the room bookings? James asked. Cancel every last one. His brows rose. Even your mom and dad? I hesitated for a moment, the memory rushing back, me standing in our kitchen, telling my father I was leaving med school. No daughter of mine's gonna mop floors in a hotel, he said coldly. You walk away from medicine, you walk away from this family. Especially them, I said. James gave a silent nod and tapped his screen. And for the ballroom? Strip it bare. Leave just one table. One chair. Keep the lights off, except for a single spotlight right on that chair. James let out a low chuckle. Dramatic. I respect it. Once he left, I wandered over to the massive windows of my penthouse suite. Chicago stretched out before me, and the spire of the Belmont Grand shimmered above the same streets I used to walk with holes in my sneakers. This city watched me grind. I didn't ride in on a family name or connections. I got here on sweat, grit, and stubborn resolve. My phone buzzed again, of course. Aunt Carol. We've hired professional photographers. Please don't ruin the shots. The Belmont holds itself to very high standards. I smiled as my fingers traced the gold-etched plaque on my desk. Marissa Kellen, CEO and owner, Belmont Hospitality Group. Oh, Aunt Carol, I muttered, you haven't got a clue what our standards actually are. The rest of the week was razor-sharp. I double-checked camera setups, ran through security coverage, and reviewed everyone's roles. The staff, many of whom had been mistreated by my so-called relatives over the years, were eager to be part of it. A few even offered to stay late just to help. By Friday night, I called Lena. You ready for tomorrow? I asked. Born ready, she laughed. Cameras are charged. I've got shot lists prepped like I'm filming a movie. Then she hesitated. But, are you sure about this? They're still your family. My eyes drifted to the photo on my wall, me, younger, in a worn-out maid's uniform. They stopped being family the moment they treated me like a stain on their reputation, I said, glancing toward the closet. Tomorrow, there'd be no designer outfit. I'd wear that uniform again, cleaned, pressed, and charged with meaning. The same one I had on the day they wrote me off. Only now, they'd walk through doors etched with my name, thinking they were the VIPs, never realizing they were stepping into my world. If anyone's ever tried to tell you you're not good enough, just wait till you see what happens next. So go ahead and subscribe, because you won't want to miss their faces when the truth hits. Sometimes, the sharpest revenge doesn't need a single word. All it takes is the right outfit, worn at the exact right moment. Saturday morning rolled into Chicago with crisp air and golden light streaming through the Belmont's grand arches, the kind of flawless day you can't fake, can't buy, only earn. I stood by my office window, high above it all, wearing the maid's uniform I hadn't touched in over 10 years. It felt odd, but also powerful, like armor. James's voice came through the intercom. They've started arriving. Your Aunt Carol just tried to demand early check-in. I smirked. And when she demanded to speak to the owner after you told her the rooms weren't available? James nodded. I told her the owner would be making a rather dramatic entrance shortly. On the security monitor, I saw Aunt Carol pacing by the marble fountain in the lobby, arms flailing as her voice got louder with every breath. Right next to her was Cousin Travis, jabbing at his phone like it owed him money, no doubt gearing up to leave a scathing Yelp novel. My parents had just arrived, Dad in his custom suit, wearing that classic sourpuss face like someone had offended his cologne. Mom was practically dripping in pearls, I knew she'd borrowed them from a friend with a healthier credit line. "Ballroom's ready," James said. "Just one table, one chair, and the spotlight, just like you asked." I tapped the thick binder on my desk. "And the folder?" "Tucked inside." That folder held everything, every petty text, every condescending email, every post where they made it clear I wasn't welcome. Years of guest reports outlining their bratty, entitled behavior, and the piece de resistance, official documents showing I own the damn hotel. "Lena's got her camera rolling," James added. I sent a message to the family group chat, "Hope you're all enjoying your time at the Belmont Grand. Service here's pretty top tier." The replies rolled in fast and sharp. "Aunt Carol, how would you know? They'd never let you past the lobby." "Travis, stick to scrubbing toilets." Mom, Marissa, please don't ruin this for everyone. I watched them reading my text, still smug, still so sure I was nothing. "Phase 1, I said into the intercom. A few minutes later, front desk started the process. One by one, they got the same news. "Your reservation?" "I'm sorry, it's been cancelled." "No, there are no available rooms." "And no, the owner isn't taking guests at the moment." Aunt Carol's face turned blotchy as she shouted at the poor desk agent. I just kept watching with a quiet smile. Victoria, who'd been counting on that suite to get ready, immediately started crying. My dad, always the dramatic one, started throwing out legal threats like confetti, only to be met with calm professionalism. "Sir, the Belmont Grand has a stellar legal department." "Phase 2, I said into the mic. That's when our concierge team, cool as ice, began ushering the increasingly frazzled Kinloch family toward the ballroom. But once the heavy double doors swung open, the mood shifted. There were no flowers, no elegant place settings. Just a big, dim room, and a lone spotlight pouring down on one single chair. My mom's voice trembled. "There has to be some mistake." "No mistake, Mrs. Kinloch," James replied smoothly. "The owner has requested that each of you step forward into the light, one at a time." "This is absurd." Carol snapped. "Do you even know who we are?" "I demand to speak with the owner." I stepped through the open doors. "Request granted." You could have heard a pin drop. Heads whipped around, eyes wide. All 40 of them stared at me, standing there in a freshly pressed housekeeping uniform, holding that folder like it was scripture. Faces shifted from confusion to shock in a heartbeat. "Marissa," my dad choked out. "What are you doing? Why are you wearing, what? This?" I walked calmly into the light. "You mean this uniform? The one you all looked down on? The one you thought meant I'd failed?" My voice was steady. "Like a maid? Like someone beneath you? Like the daughter you tossed aside because she didn't follow your precious script?" "If this is some kind of joke," Carol began, but I cut her off. "It's not. And honestly, watching you all lose it over cancelled bookings might have been the best entertainment I've had in years." I stepped fully into the spotlight, held my head high, and stared them down. "See, the Belmont Grand does have standards," I said calmly. "We don't accommodate guests who yell at our staff, flash expired cards, or mistake wealth for worth." Victoria let out a dramatic gasp. "You're just the maid." I smiled, cool as ever. "Actually, I'm the owner. Not just of this hotel, but of Belmont Hospitality Group. 15 properties. 3 continents." I flipped open the thick folder and let the pages fan out, clean, sharp, undeniable. "Let's rewind the tape, shall we?" I read their words back to them, the jabs, the cold shoulders, the years of rejection. My mom's voice cracked. That can't be true." "What part, Mom?" I asked softly. "That the daughter you called a failure now owns the ballroom you're standing in?" I gave them a tight smile. "The most exclusive hotel in the city, by the way. And the one you never thought I belonged in. Well, I own the keys now." Aunt Carol tried to salvage it, sputtering, "But the rooms, the reunion, cancelled," I said. "By me. Just like the whole event." Because at the Belmont Grand, we don't host celebrations for people who humiliate service workers. You can't do this. Travis yelled. All my friends are coming. This is beyond humiliating. Humiliating? I stepped forward. Like being called a disgrace? Like being erased from every wedding, every birthday, every holiday because I didn't fit your picture-perfect narrative? I turned to the back of the ballroom. Security. James and his team stepped forward like a well-oiled machine. Escort them out, I instructed. If they resist, we've got footage. If they act up, we've got every complaint they've generated across every hotel on file. And if it really comes to it, well, the press always loves a juicy headline. Marissa, please, my father said, stepping forward with that tired look he always reserved for my dreams. I shook my head. Where was this concern when I was mopping floors at 3 a.m. to keep my business alive? When you told me I was throwing everything away? One by one, they were guided out, some crying, others fuming, all of them stunned. As they reached the doors, I called out, oh, and one last thing, the cake? The one you assumed was complimentary? Expect a bill. With a generous service fee. Once the last pair of stilettos clicked out of earshot, Lena emerged from the shadows, camera in hand. That was epic. But seriously, how are you holding up? I glanced around the empty ballroom. Years ago, they wouldn't even give me a chair in this room. Now I own the room. I'm great. That night, I changed back into my usual clothes and watched the Atlanta skyline glow in the dusk. My phone lit up nonstop, calls, texts, voicemails. Some begging for forgiveness, others spewing anger. I deleted them all. By morning, every major social page had the story. Hotel boss shuts down family event over class disrespect. They called me a self-made powerhouse. From overlooked housekeeper to hotel mogul. A week later, a plain envelope showed up. No return address, just my dad's handwriting. Inside? A letterhead from Kinloch, Carr and Reed, my family's old money law firm. An invitation to come on as a named partner. I mailed back a pressed housekeeping uniform and a handwritten note, no thanks. I prefer owning the buildings you rent office space in. The Belmont Grand kept thriving. It became a symbol in the Southeast, elegant, private, and built on values. I made it a point to hire folks who'd worked their way up, just like I had. People who had hustle, heart, and no parachute. Every new hire heard my story, not for shock value, but to remind them, real success is earned, not inherited. One night, long after guests had gone to bed, I pulled on that old uniform and walked the halls. Not because I missed those days, but because I respected the girl I was back then, the one cleaning up after strangers while her own family laughed behind her back. She wasn't weak. She was building something. And now the world knew it. The Kinloches never held another fancy reunion again. Couldn't get the bookings. Word spread fast in the world of high-end hospitality, and apparently, my story hit a nerve. Some hotels even framed it in their staff rooms, a reminder that success doesn't always wear designer. Sometimes, it wears a name tag and carries keys. And that spotlight in the ballroom? I left it there. Every time I give a new team member the tour, I stop by that chair. I tell them about the day I stood right there, wearing that uniform, teaching my family a lesson they'd never forget. It wasn't about revenge. It was about value. And proving, once and for all, that I became someone they never believed I could be. Marissa Kinloch, hotel founder, CEO, and industry heavyweight. Not bad for a disappointment. So hey, if any part of this hit home for you, if you've ever been laughed at, overlooked, or told you weren't enough, hit that subscribe button. You're not alone. Your support isn't just for me. It's for everyone who's ever started at the bottom and dared to rise. Now I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below.